This episode of Calling It Now was brought to you and seen a week earlier by my generous supporters on Patreon. Let's begin.
Skin and bones and brains and blood.
Hey everyone, it's Suede here. It's that magical month where we can all let a little bit loose with our spooky side, so I thought I'd go along with that theme in this Frankenstein's monster of threaded plots I like to call Calling It Now. If there's one thing the Japanese know how to do well, it's spook us to bits and pieces. Whether it's by the all-out insanity of Takahashi Miike, the mind-bending terror of Junji Ito, or even the fast-paced thrills of Shinji Mikami, the Land of the Rising Sun is just as efficient at playing the Land of the Rising Moon. However, the show I'm about to look at falls less on the spooky side and more of the what-if monster, but harem side. No, not that one, this is still a family show. Well, what show is it? Let's grab our TP, fill the bowl by the door with chocolate raisins and apples to really scare the kids, and get on with it! Before that though, rules. This is a show where I let anime that either I or the general population may never have gotten around to see by watching, or perhaps subjecting myself to, the very first episode. I give a brief synopsis, provide my personal, subjective opinion on whether I would keep watching based on the episode alone, and then call it now as to how the show's going to turn out. I understand that one episode is not enough to get a handle on most shows overall, but the first impression is still meant to hook you, and I'm just commenting on whether or not I would bite. Along the way, there's going to be some audience participation in the form of guessing what's going to happen next, so tighten your brain bolts and let's get started. This month's anime was commissioned by Evan Bao, one of my patrons on Patreon. Now, I'm currently working through a long backlog of commissions, so they aren't going to open back up again for a while, but when they do, I'll be sure to let you guys know. The dark and dreary anime we're looking at this month is Kore wa Zombie Desu ka? Or Is This a Zombie? A 2011 anime based on both the 2010 manga and the 2009 light novel series, both written by Shinichi Kimura. So I've got another cross-media franchise here. It even got another series called Kore wa Zombie Desu ka of the Dead in 2012. This series, though, was produced by Studio Dean, a prolific studio founded by former Sunrise employees, known for such series as Rurouni Kenshin, Fruits Basket, Fate Stay Night, and Neo Yokyo. Look, they've done a lot of other good stuff too. It was also directed by Takami Kanasaki, who's also done storyboarding work in some of the later seasons of Pokemon before Sun and Moon, as well as doing key animation in the astoundingly gorgeous Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust. With a director like that, how can I not be interested? Well, anyway, I solemnly swear on my honor, such as it is, that I went into this episode completely blind, with even the production research being done after the fact. So we open strong with one of the scariest settings I can think of: suburban sprawl. We also get another obnoxious fisheye shot, though I think this one is a bit more justified as it evokes those corner mirrors you often see on street corners, especially in Japan. So far it seems pretty moody and somber as we meet what I assume is our protagonist, discount Kaworu Nagisa from Evangelion here. I'll just call him DK for short. He then subtly jostles us off the path from realistic slice of life into full-on anime crazy town with one single deadpan shot. What happens? Well, call it now, if you haven't seen it obviously. A. He walks past a girl wearing armor in his kitchen without batting an eye. B. He calmly opens a portal to a hell dimension to get to his high school. Or C. He pets his robot sentry dog as he puts on his shoes. And the answer is...
じゃあ俺行くから
A. Give yourself 2 points if you got this or any future questions right, and wrong answers subtract 1 to a minimum of 0. Yeah, even the show seems to revel in how off-kilter it is, without a single other angle or reaction shot at Jackson here. Oh, you think that's weird, Normie? What are you, new? Well, disregarding that, we then follow DK as he arrives at school, attends a class that seems to be occupied by protagonists of another anime, maybe being a protagonist is an elective, assumes the official anime angst position at his desk, and laments that he seems to be stuck in a rut. Then, on his way home from school, the inciting incident delivery truck barrels along the road towards an unsuspecting kitty cat. Then the show punches us in the face with the fact that he's got a good heart, really, by having him selflessly dive to rescue the kitten. What happens next? Well, call it now. A. Jackson from earlier halts the truck with one hand, causing an elaborate Sakuga shot as it crumbles around her, and then she turns to the protagonist and says, "Your dragons seem a bit less hardy than mine." B. DK does a wacky turn to the camera, declares himself a zombie, and then is seen twirling through the air as he's stripped naked by the passing trees and embarrassed in front of his classmates. Or C. We see DK wasn't really the protagonist, it was actually Jackson who now has to investigate her brother's death using her magical detective skills. It turns out the driver wasn't all he appeared to be. Spoilers, he was a zombie. And the answer is...
あ、俺ゾンビっす
B. Yeah, after that scene, once I'd pushed my eyeballs back into my head, my reaction was pretty much... Oh, well, if I'm being honest, my first reaction was actually...
俺ゾンビっす
No, you ain't!
Luckily, the show gives us some time to change mental gears after all that by giving us the opening. It's alright, nothing really to write home about. It's the standard color-coded character cavalcade with a budget-blowing fight at the end. Though it's interesting that they actually give their classes in English. Zombie, necromancer, ninja. It's somewhat refreshing to actually know the language that's meant as a bilingual bonus for once, is all I'm saying. So after that, apparently DK was able to literally drag himself back home, since apparently he can't get killed, but he can get hurt. Must have been hard climbing all those trees for his clothes. Then Jackson, apparently a mute, writes that she'd like a big dinner, to which DK replies with, okay, and by dinner you of course mean eating and then having a big fan-servicey bath.
本当の気持ちは
お兄ちゃん、お腹空いちゃった。早くユウにご飯作って。あと、お風呂。
So yeah, DK's a big old pervert and oh look at that, I got urban fantasy harem bingo. Luckily he keeps it all on the inside aside from the occasional blush, which I'm going to assume is stylistic as I'm not sure zombies should be able to do that. He and Jackson share a meal and he's all
で、今日は何してたんだ
living the dream, girl. Then something happens that causes some convenient friction, allowing a clunky exposition dump. What was it? Well, call it now. A, he tries to wipe food off her face and she breaks his arm. B, she suddenly faints into her rice, leaving him to wonder how he could possibly move her without molesting her. Or C, a ninja bursts through the window and cuts his head clean off. And the answer is
ほら、ご飯粒ついてる。
A. I guess the fact that DK can't die is a pretty good workaround to justify the slapstick punishment the main character will take, so kudos for that at least. Jackson then exposits by Bob Dylan-O-Graham that she was the one that brought him back to life and wonders if he regrets it. And DK in response is all, nah, it's cool, I'm glad you brought me back. It means I can find the scumbag who murdered me in cold blood. Ow, ow, sorry, got a bit of mood whiplash there. Anyway, then DK gets a call from a school chum who's all, hey, remember how there's a serial killer in the neighborhood? Weird, right? Hey, me and some others are gonna warp through a TV and see if we can catch them while fighting our demons. You in? Nah. Yes, not only was DK killed, he was serial killed. Killed serially? Deceased in a serial manner? What would be the proper way to say that? Well, anyway, he goes to his calm down place, the cemetery, of course, to partake in some deep thought and product placement. Then... Okay, that is an A+ expression. It's literally the same one that's on my face right now. So what is it that's causing a grumbling in the graveyard? Call it now. A schoolgirl defending herself surprisingly effectively with a sword against a Leatherface knockoff with a circular saw. B, a female office worker in a business suit fending off a Tengu on a motorcycle using only hand-to-hand combat. Or C, a magical girl fighting off a demon teddy bear with a pink chainsaw. And the answer is... C. Yep, Bubblegum Chainsaw over here is coming to rid your cemetery of demon bears, and she doesn't care who gets killed in the process. I'm serious, after DK gets mega impaled, she treats it like a demerit on her driving test. So after the demon gets bifurcated, or should I say, bearfurcated, I've been playing too much Danganronpa. DK and Bubblegum Chainsaw have a terse conversation about respect for the dead.
なぜ死んでないんだ？
ゾンビだからな。気持ちは人間のままなんだが。死者への冒涜だぞ。
Apparently, she's a magical girl in training, or should I say a maso shoujo, which is a pretty clever pun on maho shoujo, which means magical girl, by using maso instead, which can be used to mean equipment, so magically equipped girl, referring to her chainsaw. Thanks, translator's notes. She's also a self-proclaimed genius in her field, which leads to an exchange that I feel sums up an important tenet I follow online.
俺は自分で天才とかいうやつを信用できないんだが。
凡人には天才の気持ちはわからないっつーの。
However, as part of an apparent protocol, she needs to wipe his memories, but the spell apparently backfires, leading to her magic being drained. Wait, you may say, but aren't her clothes magical? Yes, they are.
あれ？魔法が効かない。どういうことだよ。
So she crashes at DK's place, where he gives her a shirt that looks way too big for even him. Seriously, either someone else lives here or DK partakes in rap battles as a hobby. After Bubblegum calls up her school in her world with some wacky misunderstandings thrown in, she decides to stay until her magic gets sorted. DK isn't sure what to make of all this, so he just heads to school as usual. Then this happens.
相川がカッサカサだ
Okay, if that happened because he's a zombie, then his classmates should know his secret now, right? But they don't, so is this just a jab at Japanese summers? It just seems so random. Well, anyway, after that, DK's chum offers to come over and watch a video. DK creepily shuts him down. Then we get some more tasty mood whiplash, except this one's not so nice. Call it now. A, DK spots a girl about to commit suicide, but he comically foils her attempt by breaking her fall with his body. B, it looks like DK is about to get raped in his classroom when it turns out, false alarm, it's actually a Crayfish in a man costume. Or C, DK walks in on what looks like bubblegum shooting drugs, but it's actually how she infuses herself with magic in a heartwarming diabetes parallel. And the answer, though I wish it wasn't, is...
BL か違うわ何やってんだよそいつはメガロだわかるよな
B. Jeez. I know it's meant to be a wacky misunderstanding, but this kind of thing really shouldn't be made light of, you know? Even if it were possible, which I'm not sure it is, it would need to be handled with the utmost care. Like, take for example one of my favourite black comedy series, Blackadder Goes Forth, set in World War I. They were extremely irreverent in traumatic situations such as war, but they were always sure to treat the actual atrocities with the respect they deserved at the end.
How are you feeling, darling?
Not all that good, Blackadder. Rather hoped I'd get through the whole show. Go back to work at Pratt & Sons. Keep wicket for the Croydon gentleman. Married Doris. Made a note in my diary on the way here. Simply says, bugger.
It wasn't, ha, millions died, ain't that a hoot? It was more, we want to show that there's humor and absurdity even in the harshest of times. Whereas here, it literally does seem like they're saying, ha, he thinks he's about to get raped, ain't that a hoot? This is the kind of thing that has caused real people PTSD, and slapping a crayfish on the end doesn't take that away. It's like shaking the chair of someone who lost their home in an earthquake and saying, come on, it's just a joke. That, coupled with the uncomfortable gay panic vibe, is really putting the show into a death spiral for me, but let's at least finish the episode. So after Bubblegum Chainsaw shows up, she attempts to transform, but fails once again, and after Crayfish Guy mocks her for having no magic, we get a tragic backstory glimpse as she zones out. DK, meanwhile, is surprisingly able to hold his own against Mr. Crayfish since he doesn't have the subconscious limiters on his strength the regular humans have. However, it's only a matter of time before his body gives out, so Bubblegum hands him her chainsaw and explains that since he's a magically reanimated corpse, he's got magic flowing through him, so he should be able to transform. And so he does. Then ha-ha cross-dressing, ha-ha cool fight, ha-ha subverted male gaze. See, it's because it's a man's underwear that it's weird, get it? Then he beats the crayfish, everyone in school sees him and he's all, oh no, my life is over because everyone thinks I'm a pervert for cross-playing, and Bubblegum declares him a zombie magical girl, which I have to admit does sound pretty metal. What more shenanigans await? Well, that was Korewa Zombie desu ka. Did it hook me? No. Okay, well, to be fair, the premise on its own isn't bad. It's a fresh take on zombies, to be sure, one that I'm surprised hasn't been explored more often in Western media. The animation was also pretty decent with some well-staged fights, although it suffers from the let's do as little as possible while the budget meter charges thing more often than is comfortable. Not to mention I'm always a fan of girls kicking butt with heavy machinery, but, well, let me put it this way. Humor is probably one of the most subjective opinions in human existence, except for maybe music preference, and I'm more than willing to provide an allowance for the cultural divide, but aside from a couple of admittedly very good gags, it really wasn't that funny to me, even completely disregarding the squicky rape jokes. It's hard for a comedy to keep my attention if I don't find it funny, and the other story elements didn't do much to make up the difference either. DK is standard harem protagonist 2, fantasy subtype A, Jaxine is defined by her lack of personality, and Bubblegum Chainsaw might as well replace all of her lines with Babaka, and nothing would be different. Also, I know that this is explicitly a fan-servicey show, so I was expecting it, but some of the shots were still just annoying, intrusive, and eye-roll worthy. A show that's direct about its fan service has to play their cards just right to keep my attention, like My Hero Academia or Kill la Kill, and this one just did not on pretty much any level. Pass. Would I watch it to the end if I had time? I'd give it one more episode to see if the poor elements were just a misguided attempt to grab the lowest common denominator, but if it was more of the same then there's just no appeal to me and I've got better things to watch. But say I did watch it, how do I think it would play out? Ugh. Well, calling it now, over the course of the next few episodes he'll meet the other girls in the opening, all of them will somehow accidentally get naked in front of him, a couple will start out as sworn enemies and then reluctantly join the group to fight the growing monster menace. Also, each of them will be some kind of horror monster or anime character trope so the DK can add it to a long list of descriptors at the end of the episode. By the end he'll probably be saying, I'm a zombie, werewolf, mummy, vampire, demon, magical girl, witch, ninja, Viking, hunter, shaman, what? As for the girls, they'll each get one episode that shows their hinted tragic backstory that gives them one extra dimension before going right back to normal in the next episode, and the final battle will be against some Cthulhu-like clothes-ripping monstrosity that then transforms into a scantily clad angel that joins the group for many more awkward adventures. But what am I talking about? That's way too convoluted. Obviously what's really going on has been staring us in the face this entire time. It's easy to spot if you read the subtle foreshadowing. foreshadowing, even in the first episode. DK seems to be showing a lot of genre awareness, calling out tropes like here.
これはツンってやつだよな。
Not to mention him addressing the viewer during the crash, near immortality due to constant regeneration of a crippling ailment, fourth wall awareness, not to mention he's a good fighter and a big old pervert. Oh no, this is anime Deadpool, isn't it? Ugh. Actually, given the fact that the main characters appear to be a pool of skilled monster hunters and the main character is a zombie, Deadpool could have been a legit name for the series. Near the end, DK's final transformation will occur and it'll reveal that he was the merc with the mouth the whole time. He got tired of Western media and decided to infect the East by creating a series that contains all the stereotypes he'd heard about in anime and sprinkling in our horror staples for fun while inserting himself as an OP character.
Hey, screw you, buddy! I've seen more anime than I'm comfortable admitting! Do you even want to know how many body pillows I own? 3 of them have inanimate objects on them!
Look, I'm just saying it'd be a bit unusual if you stepped into anime.
Really? A regenerating pansexual mercenary with 2 katanas and a franchise stretching over multiple forms of media won't fit in anime. You know what is weird for me? Appearing as a badly animated promotional photo in a Z-list YouTube review because you can't afford to go on DeviantArt and pay someone an exposure to draw me.
Hey!
Who'd you get to voice me? Some rando who writes video game facts all day? I've been played by Nolan North and that guy from Harold and Kumar, pal. This isn't exactly a high point in my career.
Okay. Jeez. Ugh.
Patron, Infissimic, Ellison Bennett, Adam One-Eye, Brendan, All Gilvin Atkinson, Garden Kitchen, Crispy, Christian Larson, Colleen, Conrad, McRae, Daniel Waldrum, Deep Cover, The Dump Smith, Dylan Lewis, Gilly Elfson, King Cole, Goose Wright, Suppose, Brave Morality, Henry H., Joe Schooler, Joel Young, John Jones, Pals, Kaseki 77, Guru, Lucas, Newmeyer, Mid Stores, Max Willington, Mitchell Inkerman, Simon Sorry, Nefarious Tangent, PvP, Thomas Algan, Tristan Bell, Wandering Boom, Wesley Fox, Bigger Patrons, Andrew Welsh, Sleep, Camera Cloud Sparkle, Colleen French Rockets, Death Animated Pool, Matt Gangle Papa, Ian Green Lantern, James Nicholson, Anchor Sting, Joan Cold, Kyle Brackman, Knight, Loomsy 96 Spandex, Mark Dean Cards, Michael McKinney Split, Oliver Dragon, Boca Digiball, Stephen Walker Sand, Super Bunny Banku, Checking 101 Straw, Dark Master Shiny, Trey McGowan, Cocky Doodle Doo, Joseph Strimling, Kaboom, Zachary Taylor, President.
Terribly sorry. A Frozen Traveller, Colin McCormack, Evan Bow, Ian Corzine, Jason Higgins, Kelly, Mystic Samurai 1983, Ataku JD, William L. Reese, and Winter's King. Thank you all kindly. Please be sure to patronize me if you like my work. So that was Korewa Zombie desu ka. Remember that this is still early days and I'm always looking for feedback. Thanks for indulging and calling it now. The next time you see a chainsaw, you're going to wish it was pink.
Are you alright? あ、俺ゾンビっす。